We're all a little depraved and debaucherous. Here is the king of podcasts.
And welcome to another program, Depraved and Debaucherous. This is King of Podcasts. It's that quirky little show that you hear at kingofpodcasts.com and, of course, at all major podcast portals and, of course, on YouTube at King of Podcasts. So you find it all there. And I hope all of you really appreciate the episode I put out for last week, which was an hour-long plus interview I had with certified professional matchmaker Julia McCurley. Give me a good conversation just on the dating game redefined and the idea of why her work as a matchmaker in Austin, Texas is so neatly required, and why she offers a course now to help guys learn how to go ahead and date again and just go through the process, go through the motions, you know, what to wear, what to do, how to present yourself, what to say, and the most honest, transparent possible way to go ahead and meet someone else that is like-minded like you, and go through the coaching process and go through the mock dates and just figure it out. Because we're not getting a lot of that track record anymore. And one of the things that I think was really important, that was an important takeaway that we got, that I think we made a good point of in the interview, was that there's not enough flirting going on anymore. Flirting, and this is actually a longer subject that we need to talk about here on the program at one of these episodes, which we will, is the art of flirting. Now, we know that flirting in some cases can be very... it might be a little bit cliche and a little bit corny, but that was the dating game that we were all accustomed to. And, you know, when you see movies that go on, you say to yourself, well, what is it that you do to go ahead and get, you know, a woman's attention? And it's interesting that somebody on TikTok had put up a clip from the movie Mo Money, and it's Damon Wayans' character trying to go and hit up on Stacey Dash, who is absolutely stunningly gorgeous in that movie and is the center of attention in the whole movie in general. And, of course, he's trying to go and use whatever he can in terms of understanding that she is a woman of high maintenance and a woman that needs to be wined and dined. So he has to spend money on her to get a woman like her. So the flirting will help only get you so far, but then there's everything else you have to be a part of that. But flirting used to be the one connection to break the ice in a conversation. Otherwise, what do you do with a woman to get their attention? And that's a problem that everybody has kind of an issue with. So it's now no longer about the flirting that makes a woman interested in a man. And a lot of things, it's about the incentives or the investment they put on themselves to get a return on their investment in you, which, of course, they're just investing their body, their time, their appearance. But they're not putting any money in it. The man has to put money in it. So, I mean, women might go ahead and say, well, then, you know, the guy gets it much easier because there's not so much that he has to go and do to impress. It's about what you got, what's in the bag, what's in your wallet, what do you have in the bank account, those kind of things. And that's why sugar dating has now become much more prominent than ever. And as a matter of fact, we now have a psychological study that talks more about it. The story just came out as I record tonight, and it was put out by SciPost. SciPost.org, PSY Post. Now, they have a story about the psychology of sugar dating, and that's the study itself. I knew at some point when I was reading articles from these folks here for a while, I knew eventually they were going to get a study about sugar dating. It was going to happen. Now, interesting enough, another young lady, a clinical psychology PhD student at the University of Texas at Austin, decided to go and put a study on. So they talk about the prior research that's been done on sugar dating. So the relationships between sugar daddies and sugar babies, the kind of relationships that would be fostered initially online through Seeking Arrangement, now called Seeking.com, sugar baby, sugar daddy for me, you know, what's your price, among other sites that are out there. And the reason why I bring up these sites is because of the fact that these are the sites among the tired, exhausted, seemingly damaged conventional dating sites that are Bumble, Hinge, Match, and others. We're at the point now where you have to look and realize that, man, there's not much there to work with. You know, I mean, on those regular dating sites, you see where things are that people are not getting very much interested. Before I get into the study, I want to take a quick story that came out from Newsweek. that a woman exhausted by online dating finds a genius way to vet potential dates. So let's quickly go through this. And that's basically going to play what she does here to get herself interested to find a boyfriend. I'm going to play this quick clip and see what she takes from it. So here is what she says.
One of my most unhinged hinge moments of 2023 was this prompt. This is a PSA to all of my single girlies on the dating apps. Use this prompt, and I promise the quality of men is going to go way up. You're going to want to use the prompt that says the best way to ask me out is by sending me a date proposal to my dating email, bonus for creativity, and you must attach a photo. Best, Nat. I literally made a Gmail account specifically for dating, and the results were amazing. See, the men have to take one extra step to get in touch with you, and it's the effort for me. They wrote these elaborate date proposals. They had fun with it. One guy sent me a PowerPoint of different date options. Another guy drafted out like a resume of why he's qualified, a candidate. Like, I think that it's fun for them because it's something that they don't see too often, so they're like having fun with it also. And then I'm reading them like giggling like a little schoolgirl. They were all really fun dates. I didn't find my husband that way, but I am no longer single. I've been dating a sexy British man for the past 6 months. It's been the best, but he didn't send me an email, which I will never let him forget.
Do you hear that, guys? She was having fun letting these guys email this special email she addresses she has set assigned for this said project. But notice, not one guy was even considered for a date with her. Young, beautiful woman. She put that out there, Nat, and no, nobody got anything from it. Nobody got a thing. So the dating apps are like that now. The sugar dating apps, you need to quit looking at them as just sugar dating itself. That's the thing you have to realize is why I keep bringing up the sugar daddy sites in the first place. Because those are the sites where you get to actually make relationships. They're not all like that. Let me put it to you like this. If I have to go on there and I am, prompting women that are on those sites, first of all, compared to the women that you see over on the conventional dating apps, they just see the game as it is and they don't really care. But because of the ability for women to go ahead and say, hey, if they want a materialistic, selfish, clout chasing, status seeking relationship, they can ask for one. Okay? A question just as simple as, why do you need a sugar daddy? That question, 80% of the responses will tell you something about, but it'll be the way the intent is for. I'm going to say that of when I've posed that question, of that 80%, I will say that about 5 and 50% of those 80% of emails will come back, I want to be spoiled. I want to be treated like the woman I'm supposed to be treated like. And there's always some other attribute of like, well, I'm tired of being treated like this by guys not giving me what I want and what I deserve, things like that. The other part is always about, I need to make something for myself, mentorship. I want to build a business. I want somebody to build a business for me. I want somebody to go and fund my business or mentor me and support me in that way. A lot of selfishness in there. Let's just make that clear. A lot of selfishness. And that's okay. It's allowed. That's what's so good about the sites, because you get real honesty, almost about as close as honesty as you can get from any dating site. And then there are women out there that, they do need some help financially because they're looking to find somebody to help with bills, and they got their kids, and they got, hardships that they're going through. But there are about a good 20-25% of the women that want relationships or just want to be somebody to talk to, somebody just to not feel lonely, feel happy with, to build a life with. And that's the percentage that you're trying to go for. But as long as you have all these other young, beautiful women that are desirable and appealing, and you don't mind going through the bullshit of saying, well, this is all they want, and you still want to go out with them, then you go through the sugar dating process. So now, into this research from the University of Texas at Austin. Kate Metcalfe is the one that wrote the study. And she explains that there seems to be an increase in attention around surrounding sugar daddy, sugar babies, and the arrangements they form in the media and in conversations. The widely promoted view that having a sugar daddy provides a solution to financial difficulties or a type of protection for the perils of dating these days was something I frequently heard from my peers. But there's so little research that actually examined sugar dating. So the researchers created their lab, Sex Meets Relationships, to wonder what sugar arrangements really entail, how they work, where there are risks associated with engaging in age-disparate relationships that involve transactions for intimacy and sex. They recruited across the U.S. and Canada 77 individuals, 45 women, 31 men, one non-binary individual, and all of whom had recent or ongoing experiences with sugar dating. Their recruitment process leveraged various platforms, dating sites, forums, social media channels to reach potential respondents. Yeah, some of the people that might look for a woman on the gram and reach out through the DMs and try to go that route, they can do that too. Now, researchers utilized specific measures to examine various factors. So they put a questionnaire together to determine backgrounds, age, gender, race, education, and employment status. Then the power dynamics within the relationships. They looked at the perceived power held by each partner in relationship, insights into how decisions were made, and how influence is exerted within sugar dating contexts. They put together a scale employed to evaluate participants' endorsement of traditional gender roles and an adaptive version of an index that was used to assess perceived stigma associated with participation in sugar arrangements. So, yeah, the stigma that comes with what a sugar daddy is and what a sugar baby is. I can tell you one thing with a lot of women on these sites, they don't know what a sugar daddy is supposed to be because they're given the wrong information as to what they're supposed to be. So keep that in mind too. There are plenty of times that you hear that a woman thinks that a sugar daddy is just an ATM machine. No, it's not. Or that they don't have to give any kind of intimacy or sex or any kind of, validation or appreciation back or give back any reciprocate anything back that the sugar daddy gives. Now, that's either ignorance or dumbfoundedness or just, they just don't care or they just don't really know. Because remember, there is a point where with some of the women that you meet on here, it doesn't really matter about how old or young they are. You just keep in mind that they also, some women, they're missing father figures. They never had parents that were really there for them. They've gone through their own issues, previously traumatically, and they don't know where to go to. So they find someone who's older, more mature, more wiser, and, above their years to really help give guidance to a young woman out there to really find herself in the world, and learn some things that they would have hoped to have learned from their parents, but did not. They also looked at self-reports on the history of sugar dating, the number of partners, nature of arrangements, experiences of emotional intimacy, and pressure within the relationships. And there were open-ended questions they asked so that, in their own words, each participant showed their motivating factors into entering into sugar dating, benefits, disadvantages they perceived, experiences regarding power, trust, and compensation. So, in the histories, the average sugar baby was 28.76 years old. The average sugar daddy, 48.15 years old. As young as 18 to as old as 74. These are the sugar babies and the benefactors. Now, the sugar babies reported engaging in approximately 4 sugar dating arrangements throughout their lifetime. 1 in 50 arrangements. And others engaged in more frequently as a substantial part of their dating life. So women that go to sugar dating will also look to go and, basically not supplement their income, but supply their entire income by using their pretty privilege. And this is the part where, the alpha male is going after the perfect 10 models out there. And, the women that are going after not only the guys that can support, but also the highest end of the food chain when it comes to attractiveness and the, 6 foot tall, 6-figure income, at least 6 inches down in the plumbing, things like that. It has to be considered. Sugar benefactors, they call here, the sugar daddies. High average number of arrangements, slightly higher than the women, averaging over 6 arrangements, and a potentially greater propensity among benefactors to engage in multiple or sequential sugar dating relationships. So for the sugar daddies, they would definitely not worried about being exclusive. If they can go ahead and have multiple relationships at a time, they'll look at that. And the majority of reported histories for paying for sexual activities, whether in nightclubs, online webcams, traditional sex workers. So they highlight a wider pattern of transactional sexual relationships among benefactors, suggesting that sugar dating might be one avenue among several that they pursue for companionship and sexual interaction. Now, sugar babies, when they initially even consider to go into these arrangements, is financial compensation and the expectations of the transactional nature of sugar dating. But remember, they're learning this from women. They're not learning this from the men, because you're not going to find any men that will openly talk about sugar dating or being a sugar daddy. That doesn't come out there. So what they're going to get their information from are other women that might have experience in this or just talking out of their ass. All right? Their desire was also coupled with a sense of adventure and the appeal of mentoring younger partners. That is for the benefactors. A desire for companionship and intimacy with partners perceived as more attractive or out of their league in conventional dating scenarios. Now, for me, it's younger. It's not necessarily, that every woman is going to be more attractive or out of their league. I don't even go for that. I personally say that I always go after women that are not in my league or that are a little bit more attainable. Because I feel like that, women that understand, they feel like they have the perception that they have men that come up to them that are out of her league. They can go ahead and believe their perceived value and then just shut down any possibility of a guy that she might consider that way. That guy's not going to get close to her. And if they do, then what one of these women do that feel like that they have a guy talking to them that's out of their league, out of her league, then they basically put up a paywall. I can't tell how many times where I could tell a woman decides, well, okay, this guy is not good looking for me. He's not something that I want. So let's see what he does with his wallet. Here's my Cash App. Here's my Venmo. Here's my PayPal. Or some of them just say, well, just spoil me. But they're not smart enough to realize, well, you're just asking for that as the first thing you say to somebody after they say hello. And then, oh, here, just say this. Well, I just recommend the ladies, listen, if you're just going to be greedy, you can be. I'm not judging you or blaming you for that at all. But if you're going to be greedy, then if you're going to ask to be spoiled, then drop your Cash App, your Venmo, your bank account number, whatever it is, give it to them. Because if you're just going to ask for it, then you might as well just go ahead and give where. Where should they make the donation? Where should they make the payment? Where should the first installment go? Where should the allowance go? If that's what you're going to do, then be smart about it. At least if you're going to ask for money, how about telling the sugar daddy where you want the money to go? That will be a good idea. That also would save an embarrassment, on the part of the guy that's like, who is this woman? Why does she think she just act like that? Because you sound immature when you say that. Now, if you just want to be greedy and you just want to be ignorant and selfish, then okay, then at least just offer where you want to be paid. Might as well just do that. Because when you act like that, you're no more than a hooker. You're no more than an escort. Because a woman that wants just to ask money for up front, then we know who you are. That's okay. Hey, there's a business. This is the oldest running business in the world. So if you want to do that, that's your prerogative too. But if you're going to ask for money up front, you might as well just realize you are an escort, a hooker, and you're transactional. So if you want the transaction, you need to instruct the sugar daddy where to send the transaction. All right. Moving along, both sides reported that companionship and the dating aspect of the arrangements were important, many emphasizing that the relationships involved activities typical of traditional dating. Yeah, sometimes the guys would like to have someone that they feel like they're dating, at least go through the motions and feel like they're dating somebody that, is interested in them. And the right sugar baby knows what to do to make the person that is supporting them feel at ease and feel like they're getting what they deserve, or what their return on investment is supposed to be. That you're reciprocating. Like, if you are not willing to reciprocate in a conventional relationship, ladies, if money is what's going to incentivize you, then you need to reciprocate. You need to reciprocate. I don't know how you do it, but you need to be able to go and, return back in some way in exchange for the money that you're getting from them. You need to, do the right thing and, give these men, the feeling that they're getting something for this, that they're getting appreciated, validated. And if it does mean sex, then you figure out what that's going to be, right? The findings indicate that sugar arrangements are not as simple as they seem or as they are depicted frequently online. What's most interesting, Metcalfe says, is that they clearly involve aspects of both transactional sex and traditional romantic relationships. It can be one or two. She explains, there's a misconception that you can receive gifts or money just to text someone without any sort of sexual activity. But this just does not hold true. Correct. And now she's proven the point in her study. Most, if not all, sugar arrangements involve some level of sexual exchange, which typically coincides with a level of intimacy or emotional connection, as well as a dating component where sugar partners spend time outside the bedroom together. Right. So the idea is that you just don't get money for nothing. Texts, or just get something without some sort of sexual activity. I mean, we don't know what you're going to get. But if you're just going to go ahead and feel like, well, it doesn't matter what you do, okay. There's another way to look at it. Participants voice significant concerns, particularly regarding safety and the authenticity of relationships. Sugar babies express worries about physical safety and coercion, taking precautions in the early stages of an arrangement, and benefactors were concerned more about exploitation and a potential impact on the reputation, the social stigma that's still attached to sugar dating. Right. They don't want anybody to know they're doing this. And second, they also don't want to be exploited and be put in a spot where they're spending more money and being scammed out of it, right? Sugar benefactors felt a stronger emotional connection to sugar babies, who more frequently reported feeling pressured within these arrangements. But you're putting money into the mix, right? It's like a job. Even when you're at a job, sometimes you don't want to do the job, but you're getting paid to do it, so you have to do the job. This is the same thing applies. The transactional nature of these arrangements also led to doubts among benefactors about the genuineness of the emotional connections formed, underscoring the inherent tension between financial transactions and authentic intimacy in sugar dating. So what they're saying right there is, if it's only transactional, then ladies, you're not going to get a long arrangement. And if you get an arrangement at all, it will not be exclusive, and it will not last long. You will only get the money from it, but you already know that you need to be aware that, okay, the retention on holding on to these sugar daddies is diminished greatly the more you just treat that sugar daddy as an ATM. The more you treat that sugar daddy as just an investor, as just a business advisor. And by the way, a business advisor that has no stake or interest in what you're doing. Okay? Think about the thought of, if you're looking to go and build a business that, you want to be running your own cosmetology salon, hair salon. You want to do, wigs. You want to do, makeup. You want to do, whatever. You want to build a business that you're doing, I'm going to, do lashes. I'm going to do, massages, whatever. Like, whatever kind of business you think it is. That's not necessarily going to be a real profitable business. And when the guy is not able to go ahead and get a piece of the action in the investment of it, a piece of the business action, then they're not interested. Okay? And also, because it's transactional, that means you're reliant upon your looks only to keep the guy at bay, which means you're putting more money into the makeup, more money into the clothes, more money into being how you look, which the beauty fades. And guys, just by looks, will get tired and will fatigue after a while. A woman can look so beautiful and look out of their league for so long, but if you're in a transactional relationship, you know what? You get tired. You get tired. Hey, there's a reason where, if you talk to guys that either, they go out with women of the night or escorts, they don't go after the same ones over and over. Some might just have an infatuation or, a obsession. But those are few and far between. This is not a normal thing. This is not Pretty Woman. You're not going to get Edward Lewis here, going after, or Richard Gere going after Julia Roberts. That's a fantasy. That is not the way it is always in real life. And the study also looked at moderately low levels of perceived stigma associated with participation in sugar dating, that participants might not feel as socially marginalized as might be expected. Yeah, because it's much more common now. But it's the last resort because traditional dating online sucks. It's not working anymore. So now people are having to resort to the sugar dating sites to find relationships, even if they are of a monetary value or transactional, if that's what it's going to be. They move along into the power dynamics. And financial transactions are inherent to these arrangements. But benefactors, the sugar daddies, perceive sugar babies as having significant power within the relationship, to the ability to negotiate terms and desirability. Right. But guys, if you're going to be sugar daddies, you need to realize that you don't give this woman the power, because remember, you see all the women on those sites. There are plenty of women that will not command so much. That's what you need to go and realize. This is the part where guys don't realize that it's like this. The other thing, you need to perceive yourself as the hot girl now. When you're on a sugar daddy site, there's a reason why women will flock to answer to you, even if you're not responding back. If you are new onto the site and you're on there and you just put a traditional site up there, a traditional profile up there, you're going to get responses. If you're halfway decent looking, there are even more responses. Because what you're going to get is you're going to get the attention of women that want you for what you have. So you have what's in your wallet. You have what you have in terms of your lifestyle, your income. It's as desirable as what women have as their vanity, as their looks, as their shape. It's valued in the same way. Women look at that as important as anything else on these sites, right? So they're looking at that part. If they also find that you also are, giving and nurturing and loving and caring, and you're not off this overly dominant or, ignorant or narcissistic or manipulative or showing signs of that, then there are women that will absolutely go ahead and flock to you. Because let me tell you, the amount of messages you'll have on a sugar daddy site as a man are significant compared to what you would get on a traditional dating site. If I went on a traditional dating site, whether it's Tinder or Hinge or whatever, very few of any messages. And that's even if you're trying to respond to everyone there is on the site. But if you're doing the same thing on a sugar daddy site, you're going to get responses. No doubt about it. Just remember there's that 80% that's going to be absolutely just looking for your money. They don't really care about anything else. But then you look at that other percentage that's there, that is a different feeling to it. So originally, the study thought that the older partner would usually have the power, but Metcalfe noticed that the contribution in finances determining power is that physical appearance and compensation also uniquely shape perceived power and agency in the context of sugar dating. Right, physical appearance versus compensation. Sugar babies, typically young cisgender women, often derive a strong sense of empowerment from feeling desired, valuable, and sexy, receiving compensation for that. At the same time, benefactors express a surprising degree of vulnerability, especially uncertainty around whether the sugar partner's attraction was authentic or performative. Right. Now, put it like this too. She says the sugar babies in this particular study were young cisgender women. I can tell you it's not even that. I can tell you that among the women that are sugar babies, many of them have their own children. A lot of single moms. Plethora. If you're looking at women that are, 23, 24 and older, more than likely have children. And they might not even note the fact they have children. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, they're in college or they're just getting out of college and they're moving into their career. More than likely don't have children. But for the most part, some sugar babies will try to go ahead and disclose the fact or not make a big point about the fact that they have children, which is the other part that has to be considered, because if it's transactional they're looking for, then you have to understand that you're not just going to be supporting her, you're going to be supporting her kids. So keep that in mind too. So in conclusion here, they say that social media has certainly brought issues to light, creating a certain level of openness, but they're concerned about that by doing so, many people that benefit financially, right? That sugar dating has been normalized. And podcasts like this are normalizing because it is part of society right now. It's the way things are these days. Let's just make it what it says. They want to hear more in this study and future studies about who pay for the company for young people in these relationships. And the surprise was they had on how practical the young people's voices were and how emotional and connection-driven the benefactors' voices appeared to be. It would be great if some explorers explored that further about how emotional and connection-driven the benefactors were. Because the sugar daddies might have been fathers themselves. They might have had their own daughters or sons. And, when they see a young woman that's astray, if they can help get them back on the right track and do something for them to help them build themselves back up so that they can have a better life and they get a little bit of a pick-me-up from a sugar daddy, people need to know where their money's coming from. I mean, how about women that have gone through various methods to go ahead and make money? I mean, listen, there was a time where women would go into other lines of work that would be looked down upon. I mean, what if women that were in college, they were strippers, they were adult performers, exotic entertainers, and they put themselves through college, right? I mean, the movie The Players Club, that's a great example of that, right? It's those kind of things that come up that really bring all this here and put people to mind. And so I hope all of you understand where I was coming from here and this story here and what it means. One of the stories I saw here I was going to bring up a couple weeks ago, but I figured I'll just bring it up now. OprahDaily.com put out a story about the new etiquette rules of ghosting. Soft ghosting to talk about. Some of these phrases, man. Soft ghosting. So number one, a breakdown of do's and don'ts when it comes to ghosting. Number one, do not ghost. Or go ahead and ghost. That's pretty much it. Or there's a gray area that, soft ghosting is answering happy birthday and holiday greetings, the occasional gram. If the time and energy don't bother you, a quick thumbs up or heart will suffice. That you're just kind of lingering around, still saying hello. That's the soft ghosting. It's whatever it is. What a horrible story. But anyways, psychology studies now on sugar dating. Look at that. So now psychologists are realizing that sugar dating is a prominent thing and people are doing it. And, people don't feel so weird about doing it these days like they might have at one point. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? So now we're getting more of that kind of conversation going in there. Who would have thought? What happens next? Hey, we've talked about the dating apps themselves falling by the wayside and sugar dating becoming much more prominent. So what happens now? Well, I guess, the psychology proves it. Women and men are going on to these sugar dating sites. Might be transactional, might be connectional or emotional driven, or maybe they just want to get a little depraved and debaucherous.